The Jacksonville Jaguars traded reserve offensive lineman Fred Johnson back to the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'll tell you why it doesn't really matter that much on this edition.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. I operate as a credentialed member of the media for about 2 decades now. So I have my finger on the pulse of the team and am the local expert here for the Jacksonville Jaguars and all things Jacksonville. Make sure you tap in each and every day, wherever you get those podcasts. We appreciate you spending about 30 minutes with us each and every day here on the Locked On Jaguars podcast. And we love to shout out those everydayers and anyone new to the show. We'll give you a reason to come back. Also, if you want to get caught up on anything that you missed, please make sure you check out the Locked On Podcast newsletter at lockedonpodcast.com. and check out that newsletter. All right, let me tell you where we're going and where we're going to start. First, where we're going. What you need. We're going to look around at the Jaguars roster, review what I believe is a preliminary 53, and tell you that if they go out and add somebody, where it should be. Anticipating that 53-man roster is something that we are waiting with bated breath to see what it looks like. It may change a lot, but we'll talk about that. But first and foremost, at the top of the show, Fred Johnson, an offensive lineman who was the swing tackle for this team, signed a 1-year deal in the offseason to become a Jacksonville Jaguar, provide competition, was traded back to the team that he came from, and that was the Philadelphia Eagles for a 7th-round pick. Lots of talking about that. I'll give you my spill on it right now. There's this conversation saying, man, they just traded a sure depth guy. And they traded someone who was providing competition to Anton Harrison and to Walker Little. And they better hope those guys don't get hurt. You know, something hit me, and it just told me to tell y'all this. Don't you think they knew that? The Jacksonville Jaguars traded away all of that stuff y'all just talked about for basically peanuts. And they ain't saving a whole bunch of money. So the money that they're saving and the compensation that they're getting back wasn't really worth it. If you ask me, if they're trading someone that is so valuable that they can't imagine going into the season without all of this depth. What if I told you this? They didn't think he was that, the way we thought he was that, the way anybody who has that opinion thought he was that. Why would they trade away competition for a 7th-round pick? Why would they trade away for someone who could push the starters and keep them honest and make them nervous for a 7th-round pick? If you say to save money, money ain't a problem with that kid. He wasn't making that much money anyway. Why would they do it? He might have asked them to trade him away. I don't know for a fact, but all I'm saying is for him to have the value that I even admittedly thought he had, for him to have the value that would be big enough to cause you to be concerned about the fact that they got rid of him and moved on from him for nothing, basically. I guess a 7th-round pick is decent change, but relatively speaking, your swing tackle that's supposed to make you feel secure about the 2 dudes that's already out there. Do you think if they felt that way, they would have traded him for nothing? You shouldn't think that. Because I tell you, action speaks way louder than what you think. The team's actions will tell you exactly what they were thinking about somebody. What they're going to hurt themselves for a 7th-round pick and to save about $1.5 million, $2 million, if that much from salary. That probably would have been guaranteed had he made the roster. You know that means if they traded him, I'm gonna get you a news flash, and I don't like to be sarcastic here, but I think sometimes there are just things that are just really, really, really self-explanatory that we need to talk about. You know they traded him because they didn't feel like they were getting the bang for their buck, right? You know they probably traded him because they might have cut him if and they got something for him. You realize they traded him for really less than what they got for Luke Fortner. Because at least with Luke Fortner, they got Colin Saunders, who we expect to make this roster. And especially where they rolled him out, man, they've been talking to him and bigging him up and showing his face. And hell, I even put him on the thumbnail today because he's going to be a part of the team. And most people feel like he's probably going to push Jordan Jefferson off of the team or to the practice squad. But you realize the value that everybody knew Luke Fortner was out of here, but they got better value for Luke Fortner, in my opinion, than they did for Fred Johnson. Think about it. It means that whatever you think they lost when they traded him, they don't think that that's what they lost. Because if they did think that, they wouldn't have traded him. I think a lot of times we don't like being wrong, so we attempt to justify everything instead of just saying, you know what? I, Tony Wiggins, been giving y'all an opinion that the team's actions today say it wasn't true. The tape didn't say what I thought it said. The way they felt about him was different than what I thought they felt about him. And ain't nothing wrong with me saying that. I don't know why it's so hard for people to realize that what you thought doesn't matter. What they did is what matters, and what they did tells you what they were thinking, and they're the only people that matter. What does it mean? Does it mean they have a trade for another depth piece at offensive line? Does it mean that they're banking everything on Cole Van Lannon being healthy? He was the other guy that was listed, in fact, on the depth chart right now, on the Jaguars depth chart, that doesn't indicate who they're going to cut or whoever. Cole Van Lannon is the third tackle listed. I'll tell you what it does probably mean. It means that Patrick McCary gives them the kind of versatility that they probably need, that in a pinch, he could go to either left tackle or right tackle, and he's taking a lot of snaps at all of that. Maybe that versatility, what it does is it gives the Jaguars flexibility to trade someone, to quote a former NFL player who's standing right by me in practice, he looks lazy. Maybe it wasn't a culture fit. I don't know. But the dude just played for a team that won a Super Bowl, and then he comes to a team that's trying to figure out how to win a Super Bowl. Maybe he just wasn't ready for that. I have no idea. And I'm not telling you that someone that Coach Stoutland and the Eagles thought was good enough to be their number 7, their second offensive lineman off of the pine, their first tackle, for a team that is that good, that's not good enough for the Jaguars. That's not my point. The point that I'm telling you is they traded him for a 7th-round pick when it wouldn't have cost them a whole bunch of nothing just to keep him. So obviously they have another plan. The Eagles didn't come and kidnap him. The Jaguars sent him away. Why? We'll probably get that answer Thursday when James Gladstone meets with the media, or if you watch close enough over the next couple of days, maybe, just maybe, they do something else. All right, we're going to get to this 53. I'm going to try to anticipate the 53. Everybody's doing it. It's probably going to sound just like everyone else's, but at least I'll give you a little bit of detail and try to explain it to you. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Rougiette. Listen, guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but you're looking for something beyond the usual pill. If that's so, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Hey, man, sometimes traditional options haven't worked, and Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Head to rougiette.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary. With prescription treatment, compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. All right, I'll bite. My long shot division winner is the New York Giants. And I only say that because no team has gone back-to-back in the NFC East, and I think the Giants are going to be really, really good on defense. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Rolling along here on Locked On Jaguars. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. And I'm breaking it down to you, man, getting ready for this 53. Sorry, I got distracted a little bit. I'm going to try to take a run real quick at the 53. It does not mean that these are the dudes that will be here on opening day. It just means that these are the dudes that the Jaguars will settle on when they have to have a deadline for the 53. I think it changes maybe by 2 or 3 players for a couple of different reasons. One of them is the team may decide for a couple of long-term pup list guys, right? The other part of it is they may start looking around or maybe using some of those late round picks to acquire other players. There's also the chance that there are more player for player trades, and there's just flat out chances that the Jaguars might look at somebody else who gets released and finds a way to stash them on the roster. So we'll go over what they may need in segment 3. But right now, I'm going to take a stab at their list. Now, so I'm going to choose 53 people. 1 or 2 may be guys that are designated to go on. I'm just going to choose the best 53. And so you're going to have 11 defensive backs and 9 offensive linemen. And I know that's not the way this usually works, but I'll explain it to you, because some of these guys that I have may end up on that pup list, and I don't want to make that decision for the team, but we'll go through it. All right, let's go with quarterback. 2, Nick Mullins is the backup, and Trevor Lawrence. I know that doesn't make a whole bunch of people happy. I'm going to go with 4 running backs: Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Bashaw Tootin, and LaQuint Allen. I think they all make it initially. Now, does that mean they'll all be active on game day? No. But the initial 53, this is what they're going to do. And then they're also going to have other players on the roster. But this is the way I don't think everybody's going to dress out. They're probably going to dress 3 running backs. Let's go with wide receivers. I'm going with 5 people: Diami Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington, Travis Hunter, but he's going to count twice, once as a DB and once for, so it's 53 people. But keep in mind, Travis Hunter is both a defensive back and a wide receiver. All right. So Diami Brown, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., Eli Pankole, and Austin Trammell. Keep in mind what I said about where they may go and get people. I'm keeping 4 tight ends only because I think somebody has to act as an H-back, and they have formations where they do use 2 tight ends. So for the time being, we'll go with, of course, Brenton Strange, Johnny Munt, Hunter Long, and I'm going to leave Quentin Morris on the initial 53 for now. I have 9 offensive linemen. I had 10 with Fred Johnson, but we just talked about Fred Johnson being up out of here. So we'll go Chuma Edoga, Jonah Monheim, Wyatt Milam, Pat McCary, Cole Van Lannon, Walker Little, Robert Hainsey, Ezra Cleveland, and Anton Harrison. Those are the 9 offensive linemen. Maybe Wyatt Milam is placed on the pup list at some point. Don't know. Don't want to sit here and play team trainer or doctor, but that's kind of where my mind is with that. Flip it over to the defense. We're going to the defensive line. I kept 8 on the defensive line, and this is where I'll have to explain this to you. All right, Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Devon Hamilton, Dewan Smoot, Emmanuel Ogba, Eric Armstead, Mason Smith, and Colin Saunders. Now, if there is a player that I think that they might hang on to, it could be Danny Strigo or BJ Green or both, right? Maybe they try to hold on to him and then let everything shake out and then double back on it if they make some additions, release, and try to bring guys back to the practice squad. Both of those guys are rookies, and they absolutely look the part. That means Jordan Jefferson is out, and can't say I'm surprised with the way that the last couple of days have gone or the couple of weeks have gone in camp. Linebackers, here's your surprise. I'm keeping 6. Now, let me explain the 6. It's because some of these dudes in certain situations will be used as pass rushers, and some of them can play special teams. So I'm going Devin Lloyd, obviously, with Foye Oluokun, Ventrell Miller, Jack Kaiser. I'm keeping both Yasir Abdullah and Dennis Gardeck. There you go. Those guys were competing for the Sam linebacker spot, but they both are dudes that can also provide some edge rush, and Gardeck does play special teams. So there's 6 linebackers I'm keeping. I'm just keeping them basically because they got to get that figured out. And then there's position and responsibility versatility with Yasir Abdullah and Dennis Gardeck. And that's why I only kept 8 linemen, because I believe with 4 down linemen in the middle of the offense, your versatility will come in the form of maybe the young edge rusher who is not solely an edge rusher. It's a guy who can also stand up and play in space and play Sam. And that's why I doubled down with both Gardeck as well as Yasir Abdullah. All right, defensive backs, here we go. This is the most plentiful one, but this is also where I expect 1 or 2 people to end up being posted up on the PUP list. And remember, this is also the unit where I counted Travis Hunter. He is literally on this roster twice, okay? I'm going with Jordan Lewis, Tyson Campbell, Darnell Savage, Travis Hunter, Daniel Thomas. Yeah, I kept him there because of special teams. Christian Braswell, Jarian Jones, Rayon Lane, Antonio Johnson, Caleb Ransaw, Eric Murray, and Monteric Brown. Monteric Brown hadn't played a lot in the preseason. That means he's been banged up. And also third-round draft pick, Caleb Ransaw. He's been banged up. So I wouldn't expect that you would see either one of those dudes in a couple of weeks. But for the sake of the 53-man, that's what I've done. And, of course, Logan Paul and Cam Little look 2 of the best in the business. And Ross Matisic, really, they got 3 really, really good special teams core guys on this team. So there you go. Thinking what I'm just thinking, and I'm not saying I'm totally right about it, and I did it a little bit differently from everybody else. So what I want to do now is come back and tell you if you're going to go shopping, where you're going to go shopping, and what do you need. It may not be position-based. I'll explain in just a second on Locked On Jaguar. All right, we have an important question. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you and presented by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner, and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here, and everyone's researching, drafting, and building their championship squads. If you haven't joined the league yet, now's the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether it's your first time or if you're a veteran creating your millionth league. Yahoo Fantasy is loaded with fun ways to compete and brand new features that make the game even better. With season kickoff on September 4th, now is the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football, which offers you so many fun ways to compete. You want more ways to play? Try brand new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated weekly until one team is left standing. Want to play instantly with friends? Try the new Draft with Friends mode. Prefer the classics? Go get your crew together and go ahead and get a private league. No crew? No problem. Join a public league. It's the easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. All right, we're moving and grooving here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. Thanking you for making us your first listen. We've talked about Fred Johnson, the trade, how it changes the offensive line room, and basically how it doesn't change your opinion. It shouldn't change your opinion. It just should correct your opinion, because remember, all of this isn't about being right. This is about trying to figure out exactly how they feel. And when they make a move to tell you exactly how they feel, the mental gymnastics of using that truth and trying to slapbox with whatever the opinions that we've been spewing all of this time really is crazy to me, because the whole thing that we were trying to do was give you information based on what our eyes told us and our ears told us about what the Jaguars could possibly be looking at going into the year at these positions. And when they do something to the contrary, we still hold on like we can't move off of that initial point, even though they just told you what is true. It's amazing that we do that. But alas, here we are. All right, so I've gone through this little exercise of mine where I did 53 guys. I hope I counted correctly, but sometimes I make mistakes too. So I'm sure if I gave 52 or 54, somebody's going to let me know. But what would it need? Like, what are they going to go out and look for? It would be very, very easy to say a catch radius wide receiver, because Brian Thomas Jr. Is the only guy 6'2" or bigger in the receiving corps. We forget that Travis Hunter has been a dude that folks have been saying has incredible ball skills, jump ball skills, instincts. And I don't know why folks act like we ain't drafted him, because that's what he's there for, to win those situations along with Brian Thomas Jr. But if it tickles your fancy that they're going to go out and need another guy who can catch jump balls, then maybe that is an area that they go out and look into. People have been telling me they need to go get a defensive back, and I can't tell you which ones they need to be cutting. I'm keeping more than the average team even keeps on defensive backs. They've added a couple of linemen in the middle of this line to help them out, veterans. They've gotten Eric Armstead back at least. He was on the practice field last week, as they told us that he was going to be. And they finally also got Mason Smith back in and did some work, and he got some work, a lot of it in the second half of the preseason game, probably just to get his legs up underneath him. They ain't going out and shopping for no running backs. People keep saying backup quarterback. That's really opinion based, but I don't think they're going to move off of Nick Mullins, because they brought him with them. They have a comfort level with him, and unless he was just here to help them learn the offense, it'd be weird to kind of bring a dude in here right now that doesn't know the offense when you could have had him in here the whole time. So I do believe that they might be in the market for an offensive lineman. But I do also believe that they could go out and play this week with the guys they have because of Patrick McCary and the fact that he's a Swiss Army knife. And Chuma Udoka has also played tackle and guard. In fact, when we were going out to practice early this year, he was lining up at right tackle until Anton Harrison seemed to get it together and stave him off. And now he's back at right guard. Trust me, the versatility of both Udoka as well as Pat McCary may have contributed to them saying, we got our two deep tackles right there on the line of scrimmage. I mean, on the line, and we got Cole Van Lanner if and when he comes back. So basically, they have 5 people that can play tackle. They might have more people that can play tackle than they have that can play guard. All right. It's just that two of the people that can play tackle are also guys that can play guard. And I think Van Lannon can even play a little bit of guard. So a lot of coaches talk about having this versatility, but the Jaguars actually do have it. But they could still go out and add a player. So when I say what do they need, I'll get off the positions. I just think they're going to go out and evaluate somebody out there. And if they think he's better than somebody that they have, especially on the back end of the roster, that's who they're going to go get. I don't think they're just specifically saying we need an upgrade here or we need an upgrade there. I think they went through camp and took the best guys at those respective positions. And then if something pops up, they will evaluate that in a vacuum and say, okay, is he better than the guy we have? And does he give us what we need? And how much does it cost? And can we get him? And can we obtain him to come in? Because you're always looking to get better. I don't believe them looking to get better as them circling positions saying we're weak here and we're weak there. They just had 90 guys at camp. And they ain't really started doing anything. They still got them over there. They still got about 87 of them over there. So I really believe that if that was the case, the Jaguars could have actually gone out and did something about it. But instead, they've taken two offensive linemen and actually traded them and got a core player on the defensive line, the interior of the defensive line. And then now they got a 7th round pick that they may end up taking and putting it with some other change and create something that folds from something that jingles, and then using that as leverage to go out and get someone else. I'm going to trust them until I don't have a reason to. I'm going to trust them until I don't have a reason to. And there's a lot of reasons why I'm going to do that. They deserve the benefit of the doubt until they don't deserve it. The other thing is it's a schematic change. Y'all wanted the coaching staff to change. The reason why, if you want to bellyache about moves that were or were not made, that's fine. But you have to understand there's also moving parts when you talk about the coaching staff change. It's easier if you keep the same staff to also know exactly what you need, because you're just adding it and trying to enhance what you already have. And they didn't even do this good in the past because the offensive line was miserable, but they wouldn't go out and make wholesale changes. These guys did. They did that. And they basically just told you a dude that's good enough to be number 7 ain't good enough for the Jaguars to be number 6 or number 7. That they have their own way of measuring competition. What somebody else does for another team is fine, but if you didn't see it here, then guess what? Send him back where he came from and let him do whatever that he does up there. But he obviously wasn't doing it good enough here. I just think there's a natural inclination to think that just because a guy is a backup who gets some playing time with a great team, that means he can automatically be a starter on a team like this. Remember, Philly has a lot of guys that are some of the highest paid at their positions on their offensive line. They actually need guys like Fred Johnson that don't cost a lot, that they're familiar with, that may be a better fit schematically for them than, say, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there's a lot of ways to look at this. We're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to monitor anything that they do or say over the next day or two. I'm going to try to go over there Wednesday when James Gladstone meets at 4:15 to see exactly what he has to say. And, of course, we'll have it for you right here on Locked On Jaguars. Y'all better start hitting your fantasy football teams up and getting your drafts ready. I did mine this weekend. And you need to check out Locked On NFL's Fantasy Football Podcast with Vinny Iyer and Michelle Majuk. Listen, get your thing together, man, before it's time to make those picks. And the best way to do that is to listen to Locked On Fantasy Football wherever you get your podcast. All right, man, y'all take care. We'll keep an eye and an ear open for everything. If something changes, I'll hit you up and let you know, because it's your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars, and we appreciate you spending 29 minutes with us today. We'll see you tomorrow.